Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Atlanta. Our first hymn this morning is called "I'm on My Way to the Freedom Land," and it starts as a call and response song. So if I sing, "I'm on my way," you sing, "I'm on my way to the freedom land." To the freedom land. Just like that. But if I sing something like, "I'm on my way," you sing, "I'm on my way." You've got it. Fantastic. That's all. That's the whole rehearsal. And the very last line, you'll hear me sing, "I'm on my," and together we'll sing, "Way, great God, I'm on my way." That's how it ends. You ready? Rehearsal was great. You did a great job. Please rise in body or in spirit. I'm on my way. I'm on my way to the freedom land. To the freedom land. I'm on my way. I'm on my way to the freedom land. To the freedom land. I'm on my way. I'm on my way to the freedom land. To the freedom land. I'm on my way. Great God, I'm on my way. On my way. I asked my family. To come and go with me. Come and go with me. Here you go. I asked my family. To come and go with me. Come and go with me. I asked my family. To come and go with me. Come and go with me. Well, I'm on my way. Great God, I'm on my way. On my way. If they say no, then I'll go alone. If they say no, then I'll go alone. Great. If they said no, then I'll go alone. You know I'm on my way. Great God, I'm on my way. Well, I'm on my way. And I won't turn back. I'm on my way. And I won't turn back. Well, I'm on my way. And I won't turn back. Says I'm on my way. Great God, I'm on my way. Said I'm on my way. To the freedom land. Said I'm on my way. To the freedom land. Said I'm on my way. To the freedom land. You know I'm on my way. Great God, I'm on my way. I said I'm on my way. Great God,
Good morning, my beautiful people. Good morning. Looks like some of y'all had some New Year's resolutions about finding some spiritual community in 2023. I am so happy you are here. My name is Reverend Taryn Strauss. I am senior minister here at the Unitarian Universalist congregation of Atlanta. This is where you are. This is where we together are transforming lives through courageous action and soulful connection. And if you have found yourself here today in 2023, you are so welcome. And more than that, you are cherished. Now, Martin Luther King Day is akin to a high holy day for Unitarian Universalists. This is a time when we listen to the words of one of the great prophets who walked the earth, and we connect with those words, seeking meaning, seeking a roadmap for our next steps on the road to freedom for all people. And on this day, this time, I thought it important that we hear his words, not in his voice from the past, but spoken and read in our own voices from the present, from this time now, and you'll understand why that is. We also here at UUCA honor the first people of this land where we are making our faith home. We honor the Muskogee Creek Native people. We endeavor to listen, to learn, to hope to repair and someday heal what has been broken. And I want you to know that if you are weary of the world, if you have come in this morning looking for a word of inspiration, you have come to the right place. If you believe in God and you honor God's work in your life, you have come to the right place. If you do not believe in God, if you take faith in the human experience and wonders of science, you have also come to the right place. If you are on the fence about God and you sit with faith and doubt in equal measure, well, you have come to the right place too. If you are ready to work for equality, and I mean do the work, to serve community, if you are ready to be courageous in the face of injustice, well, you have come to the right place. If you are queer, if you are living with a disability, if you are transgender, if you are struggling with mental illness, you are struggling with finances or addiction, if you are looking for support as you try to raise kids in this post-pandemic world, well, you have come to the right place, my friends. This is a place where you will be welcomed, supported, and cherished. We declare it here. So welcome. It is amazing to be joined in leading worship by the UUCA choir. Fabulous here this morning. Or I believe Reverend Teague called you fantabulous, music director Donald Milton III. Our lead liturgist, Dr. Tony Stringer. Our director of Lifespan Religious Education, Laura Beth Brown. And my parents are out there with you in the audience. So welcome to Dave and Lynn Strauss in the congregation. And welcome to you who are joining us from your living room or bedroom or online, wherever you are. You too are so welcome to worship with us. We are so glad you are also here with us. And I just want to give a little shout out. If anybody has seen the front page of this morning's Atlanta Journal-Constitution, you might see a familiar face. They're looking back at you. It's my spouse, James Richards, above the fold and everything. So anyway, it's an exciting day in our family. And now I would love to invite Marin Merkel, who will light our chalice this morning as we say our chalice lighting words together. May the
light
light
of
of
this
this flame illuminate our tradition of seeking. Invite all who yearn for acceptance and ignite our passion for justice and peace.
So join me for Little Tree by Lauren Long this morning. Once, there was a little tree filled with leaves, who was surrounded by other little trees who had little leaves of their own. In the heat of long summer days, Little Tree's leaves kept him cool. The squirrels would climb up on his branches to play. The mourning dove landed in him and sang her fluty song. The little tree was sure to grow up big and strong. Autumn arrived and cool winds filled the air. The wind tickled the little tree as it passed through his branches and ruffled his leaves. The air grew cold, and the leaves on all of the trees changed color, becoming red and yellow and orange. Then, one day, the trees began to drop their leaves, but not Little Tree. He hugged his leaves tight. "Hello, Little Tree," said the squirrel. "You're supposed to drop your leaves now." But Little Tree was unsure. What would he do without his leaves? Winter came. "What are you doing with your leaves still on you?" asked the doe. Little Tree just hugged his leaves tight. Springtime arrived, and the little forest burst into life again. The other trees grew bright new leaves. The squirrels played in their branches. Little Tree could hear the mourning dove singing her fluty song. The seasons continued to come and go. "Quack, quack, Little Tree," quacked the duckling. "Your leaves are brown. Are you feeling sick?" A fox said, "Little Tree, it's autumn. It's time for you to drop your leaves. You can do it. Ready? 1, 2. But Little Tree just hugged his leaves tight. All around, the forest grew and grew. One summer, Little Tree could no longer feel the sunlight. The squirrels played high above on the broad, tall trees, and the mourning dove sang so far away that he could hardly hear her fluty song. Autumn came again. Leaves began to blanket the ground. The little tree looked up at the other trees, at their branches reaching high into the sky. He remembered when the trees had all been his size. And then he let go. As his last leaf floated to the ground, for the first time, Little Tree felt the harsh cold of winter. But in time, something happened. Once, there was a little tree. The end. Oh my gosh. I just got back from a cruise, folks, and I'm still in the Bahamas, apparently. And I want to invite up a very important group of people, our MLK Day of Service folks, Natalie Snedden and Lynn and Sandy Payne. Come on up here. So we are so grateful to these wonderful folks. You can join them on Monday at 3 p.m. You can go ahead and in the social hall to assemble hygiene kits for our neighbors in need. So please check out your weekly update or our social media to learn what supplies you'll bring. And please rise in body or spirit and join us. Do you want to stand right in front there? Yeah. First, we bow to honor the spirit of life. We lift our arms and embrace the gifts of spirit. We bring these gifts unto ourselves with gratitude and breathe and smile. We share these gifts with the world. We remember to be present. Honor, embrace, gratitude, share. Be present. Thank you. So at this time, we would like to invite our children, 3rd grade and under, to exit and join preschool or their creative workshop for the morning. And please note that the kindergarten through 3rd graders will be upstairs in room 220. So as our children recess, please take this opportunity to greet your neighbor.
Civil rights songs music has been part of every civil rights movement all over the world, probably forever. It's the songs that help people keep going when times are hard, songs that open hearts and open minds. In South Africa, the freedom songs were joyful. They were upbeat. They were full of fantastic rhythms. And people died in the streets singing songs much like this. This is a South African song fighting against apartheid, Siyahamba.
Hamba, The following letter was written by Martin Luther King Jr. and published in the Saturday Evening Post in 1964. It contains language that we no longer use to describe African American people, just as we no longer use the pronoun he to speak for all people. We've left his original language in the text of this public letter, entitled The Pace of Change. Despite new laws, little has changed in life in the ghettos. The Negro is still the poorest American, walled in by color and poverty. The law pronounces him equal abstractly, but his conditions of life are still far from equal to those of other Americans. The gap between Negroes and whites is not narrowing, as so many believe. It is growing wider. Charges that Negroes are going too fast are both cruel and dangerous. The Negro is not going nearly fast enough, and claims to the contrary only play into the hands of those who believe that violence is the only means by which the Negro will get anywhere. Another, more enduring myth is that the Negro has waited so long that any improvement will satisfy him. A beginning sincerely made is one thing, but a token beginning that is an end in itself is quite another thing. And Negroes will not be deluded into accepting one for the other. The tragedy of the present is that many newly prosperous Americans contemplate that the unemployable Negro shall live out his life in rural and urban slums silently and apathetically. This thinking is wrong. Federal, state, and municipal governments toy with meager and inadequate solutions while the alarm and militancy of the Negro rises. A section of the white population perceiving Negro pressure for change misconstrues it as a demand for privileges rather than as a desperate quest for existence. In 1963, at the time of the Washington March, the whole nation talked of Negro freedom, and the Negro began to believe in its reality. Then shattered dreams and the persistence of grinding poverty drove a small but desperate group of Negroes into the swamp of senseless violence. Riots solved nothing, but they stunned the nation. One of the questions they evoked was doubt about the Negro's attachment to the doctrine of nonviolence. Is the dilemma impossible of resolution? The best course for the Negro happens to be the best course for whites as well, and for the nation as a whole. There must be a grand alliance of Negro and white. This alliance must consist of the vast majorities of each group. It must have the objective of eradicating social evils which oppress both white and Negro. It is not only more moral for both races to work together, but more logical. The majority of Negroes want an alliance with white Americans to tackle the social injustices that afflict both of them. If a few Negro extremists and white extremists manage to divide their people, the tragic result will be the ascendancy of extreme reaction, which exploits all people. Our nation has absorbed many minorities from all nations of the world. Many reforms were necessary, labor laws and social welfare measures, to achieve this result. We accomplished these changes in the past because there was a will to do it, and because the nation became greater and stronger in the process. Our country has the need and the capacity for further growth. And today there are enough Americans, Negro and white, with faith in the future, with compassion and will to repeat the bright experience of our past. So may it be.
Let us put hands upon hearts. Feel the heartbeat, connection to life. Breathe in peace. Say to yourself silently, I will love myself. I will love others. And that love can heal this world. At this time, you are invited to say the names of people, someone you are holding in your heart this morning, someone who is struggling, who could use some prayer or some loving energy coming their way. Please write their names into the live chat or speak their names out loud into this holy space now. May all beings find connection. May all people find comforts. May all of us find more ways to be more loving. Spirit of life, love eternal, we rest for a moment in holy gratitude. We surrender to a mystery beyond ourselves, asking forgiveness for our mistakes, those times we have been selfish or thoughtless. Breathing in and out, we offer grace. We forgive ourselves. We forgive each other. We begin again in love. We breathe in gratitude for all that is the earth that supports and sustains life. We open our hearts to wonder for just one moment, feeling a deep connection with all beings. Let us calm our bodies and our minds. Breathe in peace and exhale. We relax into this space that our intentions make sacred. We enter into the silence.
This is the Sunday we Unitarian Universalists unfailingly set aside to remember and honor Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. And today in particular, we're pondering the pace of change. We're pondering the speed of our steps, the rapidity of our strides toward justice. As we honor the bold and rapid strides taken by Dr. King, let us also honor the small strides taken by each of us, the small steps, the quiet, persistent acts of courage by people of all complexions. Acts which may not make it into the history books, for there the bold strides dominate, but acts which nonetheless are deserving of recognition. Bold strides point the way, but it's often by smaller steps that people and society follow. Bold and rapid and small and quick are the steps we honor and encourage this morning. The donation you give on Realm or put in the collection plate is a small, quick step, never to be recorded in a history book, yet I believe eternally etched on that arc that we faithfully trust is bending toward justice. This morning's offering will now be given and gratefully received.
Sleep, sleep tonight, and may your dreams be realized. If the thundercloud passes the rain, so let it rain, rain on him. So let it be. So let it be. Sleep, sleep, sleep tonight, and may your dreams be realized. If the thundercloud passes rain, so let it rain, let it rain. If the thundercloud passes rain,
As a child growing up Unitarian Universalist, I understood that MLK Sunday was a religious holiday, like other religious holidays that honored prophets, great teachers, great leaders across human history. This was also a day to let the words of freedom ring in our ears and our hearts, to remember, to listen to those words and think about what they mean in the current moment, to feel like we are part of that network of great prophets, great preachers, speakers who are still speaking, who are bringing meaning to our lives every day. And so it is a joy to spend some time listening to those words, remembering the dream, and taking it up in our time, in our moment, in our way, for the chance to come together in memories that inspire us to love better, to do justice, to serve community. For that gift, we are so grateful. And for your gifts of generosity, well, they are just a blessing to this community and this world. May these gifts go far and wide to bring justice, to spread love in a world that desperately needs it. So blessings on this gift. Please join me in the dedication of this morning's offering.
To
For the work of this congregation, which is weaving a tapestry of love and action we call community, we dedicate our lives, and these are offerings. Blessed be. So this year, 2023, marks the 60th anniversary of Dr. King's March on Washington. It was called the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Dr. King and his co-organizers planned for 100,000 people to attend that day, they hoped, but there were over twice that number gathered on the National Mall that August day. And in the weeks leading up to the march, King workshopped the speech that he would give with his team of organizers and counselors, hoping to deliver a speech that would capture the imagination of a country, much like Lincoln's Gettysburg Address. And he was never planning on using the rhetoric of the dream he had for America's future and America's children. Now, he had been using that phrasing about the dream in various speeches for a while, but his advisors suggested that it was trite and overdone. And so this speech he wrote for the March on Washington, the one he brought with him onto the dais that afternoon, was an entirely different speech. It was called Normalcy, Never Again. But it wasn't hitting right. When it came down to it, when he started to speak, the energy just was not there. Does anyone know what happened next? Then it was his favorite singer, Mahalia Jackson, who had heard him speak a number of times, and she knew what would capture the moment. And so she called out. Does anyone know what she called out?
We have a hand over here.
Tell them about the dream, Martin. That's right. So he set his paper aside and he told them about his dream. And for a brief time, it became everyone's dream. It was captivating in part, I think, because it was focused on a future era, a time when finally justice would roll down like water and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. You see, the speech pointed in a direction forward enough that white folks could settle down a little bit and stop worrying about the changes they might have to make immediately. See, a dream is ethereal. It does not dictate one's actions in the present moment. And something about this dream speech did give white Americans license to respond to King's call for action with that lovely idea that asks nothing of us in the moment except maybe to begin to think about moving in slow increments someday. Now, the letter Dr. Stringer read earlier in this worship service, well, that was King's public response to the white backlash he had received after his I Have a Dream speech, which he gave in August of 63, this letter he wrote in 64 on the Saturday Evening Post. Some white leaders were criticizing King and the whole movement, saying he was demanding society move too fast. They really liked the rhetoric of someday, as long as someday never arrived. Now, in this letter that Dr. Stringer read, King speaks of a grand alliance between white and black people in America. And within that letter, he also emits a warning. Did you hear it? That without a grand alliance, well, then there could only be a small fringe alliance between the races. And if a few black extremists and a few white extremists manage to divide their people, well, the tragic result will be the ascendancy of extreme reaction which exploits all people. And my friends, on this January, only 2 years after the United States Capitol was violently breached by right-wing extremists who wish to exploit democracy and in turn everything we stand for, it does seem that we are unfortunately situated in this latter tension that King describes. And King's warning was unfortunately the place where we now find ourselves. And it makes me wonder. I wonder if change has taken too long, if too many people have grown up without King's voice reverberating across the decades and into their hearts, if that voice has instead been replaced with greed and white victimization. You know, powerful forces in Congress and Senate and the Supreme Court have chipped away at progress, have stalled us now in a semi-permanent state of compromise and continued oppression. But in King's America, which I pray is our America, it is not the people who have held the privilege who should decide the pace of change in our nation. Because for people who have privilege, someday is a very appealing concept. We can always look forward at our imagination at King's dream and say, sure, that sounds great. We'll walk hand in hand someday. We will live in peace someday. We will have voting rights someday. We will have economic equality someday. We will have Medicare for all someday. We will end the cash bail system someday. Sometimes it feels like what rolls down is tears. What we need is a liberation, not of someday, but of the present. Today demands more resilience for the people who have lived comfortably in the shadow of someday. Amen? Amen. The pace of change must be determined by Americans who have been marginalized for so long, who have been caught in the steel trap of the criminal legal system. I'll not call it a justice system. Who have settled for less, who have endured life in the rural and urban slums King mentioned, while white Americans benefit from the inheritance of a legacy founded on slave labor. The foundation of this nation's economy that was a time of, let's face it, great prosperity for many Southern white families and pure hell for Africans and African Americans. The hopeful future King was referring to in his dream is now. It is now. And that dream is taking too long to be realized. And the truth is, as we sit here today, There are parts of King's dream that have taken shape, that have borne fruit. I do not want to deny all of the progress that has been made. But there are other parts of that dream that have become a collective national nightmare. And there are many who also believe that something close to a collective nightmare is necessary to shake the foundations of the white moderate or even the white liberal. And I know some believe that we are in a time of world wars and evil across the globe out there, but the truth is, we still have not reconciled with the evil at our own doorstep. America's founding wound continues to fester. And we continue to find it acceptable to live in the spirit of the fugitive slave law. That time in the United States after 1860, when for years after emancipation, white former slave owners were free to round up black people and ship them back down to plantations and reclaim them as property. Now, we have been living in America in a continued cycle of redlining, real estate gentrification, mass incarceration, predatory cash bail, all of these policies that keep black families from accruing the kind of generational wealth that so many white Americans benefit from. Even as inflation soars, the cost of childcare and healthcare continue to rise, some people are making out pretty good. And to give you just one small example of the festering wound that I'm talking about, of the evil we still have to face in our own yard. Many of you know I serve on the founding board of directors of the Georgia Interfaith Public Policy Center. Thank you to Joy Bora for helping me get to that lovely board. We are a group of faith leaders who work to educate our legislators up there in the Gold Dome. Down there. While many of us support policies such as an immediate end to the death penalty in Georgia, full Medicaid expansion across the state, ending the cash bail system, and many more human rights causes that largely affect Black and Indigenous people of color in Georgia, well, we have also committed as a board to stay in good relationship with all of our legislators and to try to work only on winnable bills. Okay, that's good, but here's where we've come. Here's how far we've come. In the 4 years of our existence, the most meaningful bill, really the only bill we have successfully worked on, in 2019, we helped pass HB 345, which bans the shackling of an incarcerated pregnant woman during labor. That's it. That's what we call low-hanging fruit. Now, I was shocked beyond belief that any state would engage in that medieval practice in 2019, but here we are. So no, we are not moving too fast. No, the moral arc of the universe, it may bend toward justice, but right about now it is moving slow as molasses. So what is needed is to increase the pace of change. We got to speed it up. A sense of inescapable mutuality. In this post-pandemic era, our society has come to feel more individualized than ever. So many people saying, look, as long as me and my family are safe, healthy, and accruing personal wealth, we're good. But that was not Martin's dream. We still need that grand alliance consisting of large majorities of all races of Americans. And for one summer in 2020, it did feel like we could get there. Remember that? It was a new generation of Americans waking up, awakening to the pervasive threat of police violence that many Black people continue to endure. Those last echoes of the fugitive slave law still reverberating throughout our nation. Well, what do we need spiritually among us to answer the call of our Unitarian Universalist faith that calls us to stay open to change? Because change always sounds great when we are the ones leading the change. But when change happens to us, particularly when we have enjoyed the privilege, maybe due to our complexion or to our economic status, well then, it seems we struggle to find the personal motivation for change. We struggle with change. And so there are a few spiritual tools, I think, that we need to collect to develop our resilience for change, because there is more change coming our way. We need the gift of insight, the gift of seeing things as they truly are, to see that a loss of privilege is not the same thing as victimization. The loss of privilege does not mean you are a victim. It might mean we are getting closer to equality. It might be what you need to overcome. We shall overcome. Maybe what we shall overcome is that loss of privilege for some of us. Insight, that spiritual insight that allows us to see that maybe not everyone is happy with the status quo, even if we are, and to align with those who are suffering, who have struggled, even as we have maybe thrived. And if we are trying to disrupt new leadership or resist the change they are calling for, well, the gift of insight can help you see the power dynamics more clearly. I mean, who is making up the new leadership that you are finding yourself protesting? If it is young people, if it is people of color and queer people, will those who have long been on the margins and are now taking up the reins of leadership, well, then maybe their time has come. And maybe they could use your support. The second thing required for resilience is adaptability. Adaptability, that nimble creativity of moving from seeing something as a problem to seeing it as a possibility, from problem to possibility. Now, this can be exhausting, I know, which is why you will hear so many people in justice movements and hopefully in the congregation talk about self-care. Self-care is real. It's what we need to manage and handle the dynamism of a changing world. And while some people are energized by innovating and creative thinking, it can also be draining. Now, I am a fairly adaptable person. I'd like to think I'm a very adaptable person. And at some point in the pandemic, even I suffered from innovation fatigue. And another thing a resilient person needs is connection. A resilient person is a connected person. It is through our relationships that we draw inspiration and accountability. And if we are not in healthy relationship with those who are most affected by policies and changes, well, then we risk staying isolated and stuck in our own thinking. I also believe resilience to change requires a little faith, a little surrender. The central idea at the core of this worship series that we are entering into, Gods of Change, the central idea is the notion that arises from Octavia Butler's seminal sci-fi novel, The Parable of the Sower, that God is neither good nor bad, but only change. God is change, she writes. Everything you change changes you. Who would we be if we worshiped change? If we praised change? If all Proverbs taught how to stay resilient to change? What if we sang only hymns of love to change? If we wrote the gospel of change? Well, I think we are writing that gospel right now. The prophets of possibility, like Martin Luther King Jr., well, they are speaking to us now. And it will not be a single great act of unity, but the small efforts of individuals to make all of those possibilities that he set forth into a reality. So today and every day, we must each do one small thing that brings us closer to that grand alliance. The grand alliance of all people of all races to be working for equity and equality for all. To show solidarity with the causes that the Black people in your community and your congregation are asking you to support. If you are being asked to support a cause by the people in your congregation who are marginalized, it is time to show up for their cause and make it your own. The dream of radical societal change is no longer a future dream, my friends. There is only one right time for that dream to be realized. The time is now. Amen.
Go ahead, remain risen in body or in spirit. Let's sing together. We are building a new way. 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 Getting stronger.
Overcome in order to take that next step, to do the work of solidarity a little bit every day so that we all can do our part to bring that great alliance into being, to heal this world, to bring justice, peace. So go in peace, go in justice, go in your power, and let's make a new world happen. Go in peace.
We are